In today's video, we're going to be going over Lattafa Teriaq Intense. This came out last year, 2024, and from what I've seen has been really popular. Very highly talked about on a lot of platforms by a lot of different people. And so this one was kind of starting to blow up a little bit, and I was late to it. As is usual, I like to see how things play out, and then I'll go ahead and pick up my bottle and see what it's all about. And so I've been wearing this one for quite a while here recently since it's been cold. I've really been enjoying it, and I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and do a full review on it. So today we're going to be going over how it smells, how it performs, and ultimately what it smells like, because after all, it is a Lattafa fragrance. You would expect for it to be a clone, and so we're going to get into that today. So let's start off with the smell. When you spray this one on, it will immediately remind you of something. And ironically enough, that something is another fragrance from the same brand of Lattafa, and it does smell a little bit like Kamra. And so that was kind of surprising to me when I first sprayed it, because I was like, wow, really? It does smell quite a bit like Kamra. So what you get off the opening is this sweet, fruity plum accord. Now, according to the note breakdown, it is a plum liquor. So that is something that makes sense, and that does check out for sure. You do pick up on that sweet, fruity plum, which isn't used a whole lot in general. So when it is used, it does make it stand out. And then this boozy kick as well. Alongside of that, you're getting some warm spices. So they list off saffron and cinnamon. You're for sure getting both of those. It's giving it a nice kind of warm, spicy, sweet kick. And then, you know, your usual suspects, a bit of a tonka bean here that is pretty much prominent off the first spray, but as you move into the mid and dry down, that tonka bean will continue to remain a key player here. They don't list off any vanilla, but you could probably pick up on a little bit of vanilla. They do list off benzoin, so I guess that sometimes does a similar thing. Benzoin typically more of a powdery type of vanillic smell, whereas vanilla itself can sometimes be like more syrupy and sweet perhaps. Not necessarily syrupy sweet here, but a nice slight vanilla accord. And then also some amber in the dry down too is what they're giving us here, and you definitely pick that up. Chances are if there's tonka bean, there's going to be amber somewhere buried in there as well. And so that is pretty much the entire note breakdown there. I think I listed off everything except for bergamot, so that gives you a general idea of what this one is about. So again, I mentioned a little bit of an angel or a little bit of a Kamra smell off the opening there, and what I'll say is that when it does start to dry down, you still maintain some of that similarity, but what I can tell you, and it's very clear in terms of how they differentiate from each other, this is nowhere near as like syrupy, almost sickly sweet as Kamra is. And that's kind of one of the main, I guess you could call it, drybacks of Kamra, is that it is so sweet. You know, it does have that plum, kind of rum, sweet, boozy smell, just like kind of angel share does a little bit, because at the end of the day, Kamra has a little bit of that angel share DNA in there. But what I find with Kamra is that then they're introducing dates, which is kind of a very sugary, sweet type of note as well. And so pretty much from the very first spray of Kamra, it is so overpowering, so sweet, so sugary, like I just mentioned. It can actually be a little bit too much sometimes, and that's one of the main things you'll see. Some people say it's just way too sweet, and I see that, you know. Some people don't mind, you know, and there are times where I could smell that one and wear it, and it's you know, doable, but there are times when it is just a little bit too much. I find that with Teriaak Intense, what they've really done here, and one thing that helps a lot, is the warm spices, the saffron, the cinnamon. It's adding a surprising amount of balance. You know, you still get kind of a sweet smell from both of those or either of those, right? It's a warm spice, but that spice itself, it really helps to kind of knock back some of the overwhelming sweetness that you would get kind of from that plum, bourbon, tonka bean, amber type of smell. You know, it's sweet, it's smooth, it's delicious smelling, and has that nice boozy kick. But again, it's a way more tame version and a way more wearable version of Kamra, in my opinion. And one thing that I kind of view this as is almost like a different, like idea of Kamra in the sense of when they were making Kamra and getting back all of their different trial batches, to kind of decide on what they liked and what direction they wanted to take it. You get all of those, I can't remember what the name is off the top of my head, but you just get all the different samples that you could try. It's almost like this could have potentially been Kamra, like they had this and they had all the different versions that they were testing out, and then they kind of landed on what Kamra became to be, of course. But, this is similar enough to where that's kind of what it could have been like. I think that they probably went with Kamra itself just because of the fact that it is so over-the-top sweet, and it's really going to be a head turner in that regard, and it's really going to get people talking. But I almost view this as just like Kamra's older brother. It's a little bit more mature, a little bit more smooth, a little bit more refined. And again, it's so much more wearable. Personally, I think so many people would get so much more enjoyment out of Teriaak Intense than they would regular Kamra, just because, man, this is something that I feel like you could wear in a wider variety of situations, and also it's going to probably appeal to more people as well. When we're talking about performance here, this is an eau de parfum concentration. As you could probably take a pretty good guess here, we're getting great performance out of this one. Very few Lattafa fragrances perform bad, at least from the ones I've tried, and honestly, same goes for Fragrance World, Armaf, Rasasi. These Middle Eastern clone brands are really, really good. It truly is amazing. The price that you pay for these, which I need to mention the price too, about $35. The fact that you can spend $35 and get something that will last as long as this does, which is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 9 to 10 hours on my skin. And that's, again, usable longevity here, because it will actually not necessarily still be projecting at that point, but it's radiating. We'll call it that. It's radiating off your skin just enough where it will be perceivable by others. Like I've mentioned before in other videos, if you count this as 16-hour longevity, like Dolce & Gabbana, the one EDP, where you have to literally bury your nose into it to smell it, how much does that really count? But that's not the case here. When you're at that 9-10 hour mark, you're still getting a little bit of a resonance from this one, which is really nice. So a great performer, and honestly, I wasn't expecting anything less, just given the track record of the brand. When you look at this one on Fragrantica, it does get compared to a few different things. Angel Share by Kilian, Kamra, of course. We've talked about both of those. In terms of Angel Share, I could touch on that a little bit more. It probably is slightly closer to Angel Share, just because, again, it doesn't have that overwhelmingly sugary sweet dates accord that Kamra does. This doesn't, neither does this. So, a little bit closer to the Kilian, but this is still not what I would consider to be an Angel Share clone. It still goes off in its own direction here with that plum, fruity sweetness. It also gets compared to a Le Male Elixir Absolute, and the reason why would be because of that plum accord that we've been talking about. Personally, in that scenario, I'm not quite buying into that as much. Yes, they both have plum, but they go in different directions entirely. This one goes more in that boozy, warm, spicy, sweet direction, whereas the Le Male Elixir doesn't. It goes sweet, but a completely different type of sweet. And then besides those, there's a bunch of fragrances on there that they list off that I haven't tried before, so I can't speak to those. But just to give you really the easiest cliff notes possible here, it is a more wearable version of Kamra. That is what this is to me. And given that it's coming from the same brand, it's very, very plausible that that's exactly what they were going for. So I've really been enjoying this one a lot. I think it's great, and the fact that it's just, so much more wearable is amazing to me, because again, I've loved the smell of Kamra, but sometimes it is a little bit too much. I love Angel Share. Angel Share to me is easier to pull off than something like Kamra, and so, that's kind of how I view it. And this one is just, it's in that category, still different than Angel Share, but a twist on that. Just with a nice wearable touch. Let me know what you guys think of Teriaak Intense down below if you have tried it out. Again, about $35 for this one. Great performance, really nice quality as well, and just something that, in my opinion, especially for the money, you can get a ton of use out of when it's cold outside. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.